Hello again, it is I, Freeza700. We are back with some Warhammer 40k lore. This time we are talking about the Adeptus Mechanicus and their role in the Imperium as both a second faction and, more importantly, their role in maintaining technology.
After the...
Now, I know what you're thinking. What the fuck is wrong with the Adeptus Mechanicus? They look more like Dr. Octopus mixed with just an insane amount of cybernetics. And that's pretty damn close to the truth. They're a lot like the Iron Hands in the sense that they like to replace organs and body parts with machinery. But the difference is astounding. So the Adeptus Mechanicus is actually older than the Imperium. And they operate more or less as a second faction within the Imperium itself. Now, they don't go against the Imperium at all. In fact, it's beneficial to stay with the Imperium, because the Imperium provides them the resources, whereas they can use those resources to turn it into machinery, weapons, vehicles, stuff that they really want to do. And it allows them access to a huge vault of knowledge that without the Imperium they wouldn't have. Now, at the same time, the Imperium itself doesn't know this knowledge. So yes, they hold knowledge, but they don't know what it is. They don't understand it, they don't know what it means. So essentially, without the tech priests from Mars, aka the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Imperium wouldn't have any technology. They wouldn't know how to build stuff. They wouldn't know how to maintain their equipment. They wouldn't know how to research. They just wouldn't know this. Because they've gone over 10,000 years without ever needing to do this. Because the whole 10,000 years, the Adeptus Mechanicus has been in charge of this role. Their technology is pretty damn good. In fact, better than the normal Imperial Guard. But, there's the thing, is that when the Dark Age happened, and all of Imperium is separate, Terra and Mars both fell to civil wars. And the Adeptus Mechanicus was invented around this time period. But while the Adeptus Mechanicus was growing on Mars, the Imperium of Man has still not started yet. We're talking like 1,000 years before the Imperium of Man even started. So the Unification War hasn't even begun yet. And the Mechanicus is already well endowed into Mars. Now, yeah, there are a bunch of city-states who still declare war on each other every now and then, but they're still united to some extent to still fuck with Terra. In fact, they actually would send armies to Terra to take technology because the techno-barbarians wouldn't venerate these pieces of technology nor know how to really maintain this piece of tech. So the Mechanicus would kind of come down Brotherhood of Steel style and take it away from them. But besides that, what are they really? Well, they're a bunch of technophiles, we know that. So they love technology, and they use technology to replace most of their body parts. In fact, the Fabricator General, who is the leader of the Adeptus Mechanicus, has very few organs inside him. So essentially it's just a brain, but even then that brain has tons of cybernetic parts inside it, which in of itself would be heresy to the Imperium of Man. But they're allowed a free pass, because when the Emperor of Man signed a treaty with them, also known as the Olympus Mons Treaty, or just the Treaty of Mars, if you're more simple. Well, what he signed was that they're allowed to practice their religion as they see fit, as long as they don't do artificial intelligence. But besides that, they're allowed to research whatever, they're allowed to build whatever, and as part of really their tax, their teeth to the Imperium, they just provide what they love to do, which is technology, maintaining that technology, researching shit. This is a win-win for them. So really, there is no reason for them to ever separate from the Imperium. But, that being said, them not being able to research AIs has definitely pushed some of them to kind of want to break away from the Imperium. But never would they do it, because to them, here's where we're getting to what the Mechanicus are. They're so religious that they would not dare break from the Imperium because of one big reason. They view the Emperor of Mankind as a god. Now, you may think, well, okay, that's normal. That explains why the Imperium of Man tolerates him. Yes, but not entirely. So, when it comes to Christianity, and this is going to be a really bad analogy, but it's okay. I'll explain later. When it comes to Christianity, you acknowledge that God is God. He's the big one. He's the one that you really worship. Jesus Christ may be a God, yes, but he's just a piece of God himself. So really, yes, he's a God. Yeah, you still worship him, but you know that God himself is the bigger picture. He's the main person you want to worship. Well, this is how the Adeptus Mechanicus views the Emperor of Mankind. He is their Jesus. He is essentially a minor figment of a bigger God. So he is still someone that they worship, but he's not their main target. So they may say, praise the Emperor, but the next phrase is the more important one, which is praise the Omnissiah. Now, the Omnissiah is known as the machine spirit, and they believe that every machine has a spirit inside it. And the only way for you to really, truly use technology is for you to worship it, because knowledge is the Omnissiah. So any form of intelligence, any form of machinery, that is because the Omnissiah provides it to them. Now, mind you, Tzeentch is the god of knowledge, but they don't worship Tzeentch. They worship the Omnissiah. And the Omnissiah doesn't scheme. He doesn't do anything like that. So you can already tell this is, in fact, a separate god from Tzeentch. They're not accidentally worshiping chaos, like some other factions do. But at the same time, a lot of inquisitors and other higher-ups in the ecclesiarchy do find it a little disturbing that these people, the Adeptus Mechanicus, don't look at the Emperor of Mankind as their god. They view him as one god out of three. The Omnissiah is the biggest one. That's the one they really devote themselves to. So, in that sense, it's kind of bad for their relations with each other, but at the same time, no one's going to dare flip the switch on the Adeptus Mechanicus because the Adeptus Mechanicus is the monopoly of technology. They own every piece of it. There is not a single thing you can do as far as building, maintaining, and researching your own technology without a tech priest doing all the work for you. Because, again, they're the only ones who understand. Now, here's the big issue. The tech priests, they understand science to some degree. I hate when I hear people say this, but people love to say that the Adeptus Mechanicus don't understand technology, they just worship it and it works. That's only partially true. Now, the part that's true is that yes, they worship it and it works. But if they don't worship it, the machine spirit might be gone, yes, but the machine itself might actually still function because the laws of reality would take place. So what do I mean by that? If you have a gun, a las gun, it's got its power supply, it's got a stock on it, all this nice, cool shit about it. Great. Well, the las gun isn't going to stop firing just because you forgot to break some olive branches around it with a few candles lit. No, it's still going to fire because the laws of reality still take place. But here's the big but. If it's a big machine, a huge machine, like a Titan, well, that machine spirit is either not going to work or he's going to go berserk and kill everybody, friend or foe, because no one is paying him homage. And that's due to the religion that they have. Now, mind you, why would the Adeptus Mechanicus want a machine spirit? And what is a machine spirit? Well, they want a machine spirit because they can't use artificial intelligence. And a machine spirit is more or less an animal that is essentially personifying this piece of technology. So, in all essence, it's not a demon, it's not anything like that. No, it's just the machine now has its personality. A Titan, for example. Some Titans are very bloodthirsty. Some Titans just want to be left alone. But if you do the proper rituals, you give it constant maintenance, and you constantly praise it, it will do exactly what you need it to do, but it needs a human operator. That's the only difference with Titans from other pieces of equipment. Like a tarantula turret only has a machine spirit and a logic engine. That's it. But it's able to identify friend and foe no matter the situation. and it doesn't need that much maintenance. Because again, it's a very low piece of technology. It's not really that valuable compared to other pieces of technology. So depending on the size and the value of the technology, it will depend on how big of an importance the machine spirit is and how often that the tech priests have to worship it. Because if they don't worship it enough and it's a really large and very important piece of equipment, it will not work, or better yet, it will backfire and destroy them. So their technology is rather lofty, but they do understand it. That's the key thing. So they understand ballistics, they understand quantum theory, they understand all this stuff that would be more or less higher than our technological understanding. After all, they're the ones who design the different patents of guns, and they're the ones who design the standard template constructs. So they do understand something that they're doing. But the parts that they don't understand are the parts from the dark age of technology. That's the kicker. So they know how to upgrade the barrel of the las gun. They know how to change the stock of the las gun. They know how to make it where the trigger of the las gun alters the power supply. So that way, instead of it just being a shit ton of rapid shots, instead it's just one consecutive beam. They know how to do this. That's very advanced stuff that we wouldn't know today. But what they don't know is the power supply itself. They wouldn't fuck with it. They may change some things around it, but they don't know the core power supply itself, because that's from the dark age of technology. They don't understand how it works, but they know how to maintain it, how to keep it operating 1,000 times a day. This is the difference between the Mechanicus and real scientists, is that a real scientist would actually delve in, try to research it, try to figure it out, and then invent more of it. The Mechanicus, if they don't have a fucking clue of what it is and they haven't been using it for the past thousands of years, they don't fuck with it. They just worship it and maintain it. That's the kicker. Some Mechanicus, and this is very heretical in their order, actually try to create new technology or more or less upgrade current technology, which you may think would go along their lines of beliefs that yes, they have to go through knowledge, but no, that's actually against their beliefs as of right now, that they should not be so progressive. This is why, with the whole new lore coming out, why the Primaris Marines is actually seen as a negative thing, because the Adeptus Mechanicus really don't like the guy who helped Robert Gilliman invent such an invention. Now, that being said, this has been the Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, what do they use as far as, like, military concerns? Do they even participate in military? Yes. They're a very valid fighting force, and they're actually, in some regards, more dangerous than the Imperium of Man. So, you fighting a bunch of Imperial Guards? Whatever. Yeah, they're deadly as fuck. Yes. There's countless of them. Great. But if you fight the Adeptus Mechanicus, you're really in for a shit show. Now, they don't use stuff like artillery or anything like that, or just countless waves of dudes. No. Instead, they use Titans, which are those big-ass mechs that could be well taller than a fucking Empire State Building. And they have tons of fucking vehicles. In other words, they have a lot of robots that have many, many, many guns on it. They also have their own tech priests who are more or less way stronger than a normal Imperial Guard by any measure, because again, they have mechadendrites, which are essentially extended limbs, much like the Iron Hands, where they have giant prosthetic arms attached to their regular arms. So now you gotta fight with 3 arms instead of just 2. Good fucking luck. And then even better, they don't have much human body left, so they're mostly machine. So good luck if you actually stab them in the stomach. It's not going to be nearly as effective, because they're not going to bleed out. They don't have those organs anymore. So good luck killing these fuckers if you ever get into an engagement. Now, this has been the Adeptus Mechanicus lore. Anything I missed, I'm going to go over next videos that I ever get back to this. Besides that, this has been Frieza700. I'm out. See you guys next time. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe.